Hello, I'm back again. This is Cynthia, and I just wanted to keep working on getting caught up with a lot of these dreams and words that I received from the Lord. So I'm just continuing to do that. And so today, actually, I was supposed to start a new job, but today and tomorrow it was actually postponed. So then at this point, I thought, great, then I can just hop on here and just continue working on these because I know that this is something the Lord wants me to do. And before I decided to do this particular one, I was looking at my phone. I just picked it up and looked at the time just to see what it was, and it said 8:11. And immediately I knew. It's like, okay, it's time to do this one. This one's about 8:11. It's a dream that I had. Not a dream, actually. It might, I don't know. It's kind of a interesting thing that happened to me. I'm just going to read it because it happened in April 5th on Palm Sunday. But I just wanted to mention that leading into that day, I had just recently moved to the location I'm in right now and a new city. And on the day that I moved in, on February 1st, my daughter was helping me move, and I had actually taken a fall down a flight of stairs and I broke my ankle that day. We hadn't even unloaded the truck. And so anyway, it was quite a devastating blow to me. And to see my daughter, having to unload the truck, or the possibility of having no one to help her. And so out of desperation, I called my sister and said, Patty, her name is Patty. I said, I was just crying. It was so awful. It was just such an awful pain, awful break. And so the rest of that time, so my sister came and then helped my daughter move my things in, and I was just surrounded by boxes, and my sister took me to the ER, and yes, it was broken and a really, really bad sprain because it just went like a 45-degree angle when I fell off the stairs. I had a lot of weight. I was carrying a vacuum cleaner. So anyway, my first day here, I could not do anything. I was in a cast, and they said it would be probably 6 weeks before I would be out of that non-weight bearing type of situation. And I thought, oh man, this is not what I planned on. It never is, God just always is full of surprises, and that's what happened. So anyway, I'm just gonna go ahead and let you know, but the thing about that is February 1st, I moved in, and I was under house arrest from February 1st. So March 1st, March 11th came. I was finally able to, my sister took me to the doctor, my orthopedic doctor, and they let me start driving because it was my right ankle. I couldn't even drive my car. I was completely dependent on people. I was completely dependent on people, on God, and He came through. As always, He came through. People would come over and bring food. For the first month when I moved to this city here, I had taken up a bed and breakfast room in a private home here, and the two women that lived there came and brought me bags of groceries and rearranged my house so I didn't have to crawl around boxes, and they set up my bed for me, and they did things for me, and it's like they're not even believers. I mean, I share Christ in my little bit of way that we did, without being pushy. I didn't know them, and just, how things just have to evolve around sometimes a relationship and that. But they came, and God was showing me, yes, I am your Boaz. That's another video. I am your Boaz, your kinsman redeemer, and I will be there to take care of you. And sometimes when you're single, I've been married, but I'm single now, and sometimes when you're alone like that, it's just magnified when you are definitely in need, like I was. I had no one here to help me. I had no one here to do anything. I mean, there were times I was crawling on the floor with my cast on because I couldn't use the crutches. Another friend of mine ordered me a brand new, a beautiful knee scooter so I could get around, had brakes on it and everything. And my sister came and brought food, and my daughter came and helped me with more things. I mean, it was just like I lacked nothing. So that was kind of the setup for this. So here comes March 11th. I get to drive again. And that was when this coronavirus thing was just starting to get kind of escalated a little bit. And I was aware of it, but I was just so anxious to get out and get my freedom. And I was going to be, looking for work in the field that I'm in, which is senior care, private senior care. And so I come back from the doctor, and I was able to get out in my car, and I took a drive to the store. But then, when I went out there, I just remember thinking, this is not the same world that I left on February 1st. That I actually, from that point on, the door was shut. I was in the house. And now here it is, March 11th, and things are different. Like it seemed overnight for me. And I remember the feeling. I looked out the window and I thought, I don't even want to go out anywhere. I don't want to even go anywhere. There was a sadness and just a heaviness in the air. And I remember that. And that was the day my sister took me to the doctor. And I remember when she left the house, I just felt so alone. I felt so alone. And I thought, God, I was just gaining my freedom again. And I just felt so alone. I wasn't ready for that. I wasn't ready to face that. I just wanted life to go back to being normal. So you can see it really still, it kind of affects me still. I remember that sadness and loneliness, and I felt just this cloud come over me. And so anyway, so that was the 11th, and then the following, I'm in Washington State, so on the 23rd, they shut everybody down. And it was kind of like, well, I'm used to that. I'm back to doing that again. But at least I can get out to the grocery store if I need to and do some things. But it was just a whole different world, So here it is on this particular thing. It's on Palm Sunday. And I'm just going to read a little bit of it and kind of interject some things on it. But right here it says, I fell asleep after 4 o'clock this morning. I cried out to Jesus. I prayed in the Spirit. I had a broken heart of just personal loneliness. I was missing my family because of this. Now we were shut down for the first kind of time. And for me, remember, I'd already been semi-isolated for 6 weeks. I had no control over where I could come and go, when I could come and go anywhere. So it was a little bit more magnified for me in that way. So I was just having a moment. I was missing my family, and people were all scared, and the lost people in the world. And that's something I was really brokenhearted for, is the people that don't know Jesus. It's hard enough, at times when you do know him, and but when you don't, your heart just breaks for those. How do they deal with this? How do they go on? That's why we need to be there for them. And so anyway, I just was praying, and I just was laying there 4 o'clock in the morning and just surrendering to his will. And when I woke up in the morning, and this is something I do, is I have a sleep mask on, so no matter where I'm at, I can have pitch darkness. And I even wear earplugs, so I'm in just total isolation in a good way. And I control that part. And so anyway, I woke up and I slipped off my sleeping mask. And then I remember this was such a weird thing. I found tears had pooled up in my eyes, just tears welled up right there. I took off my mask and tears started running down my face. I wasn't even crying anymore, but it had been laying there since 4 o'clock in the morning, trapped in my eye mask, just as a reminder that, the Lord, he saves our tears in a bottle. He knows when we're heartbroken, and he's with us. He never leaves us. He knew. And that was just a kind of a stark reminder that I was grieving longer than I realized, And he's close to the brokenhearted. That's what he is. And so then I just picked up my phone to see what time it was, and immediately I saw the time, and it said 8:11. It's always weird because I see 11 and 7 a lot. 7 and 11. It's just like, even the house I moved into, the landlord, his last 4 digits of his phone number is 7777, and the last place I lived was 7711, and and that's right, and my landlord that I had before that, last place I moved into, so 3 landlords away prior, his phone number was the same 7711 as the house I was just moving into, when my mom moved in and I took care of her. And so here I am now in this house, and it's the landlord is 777. So anyway, I'll go back into that. So anyway, numbers are kind of strange. I don't follow them. We're not supposed to do, absolutely not numerology, nothing like that. But anyway, just God speaks to us in different ways. So I picked up my phone, and it was 9:47. And I saw that time, and it just struck me as odd, because it just kind of, it wasn't one of those passing things where, oh, what time is it? Oh, 8:11. It was like, it just kind of highlighted. And when God wants me to pay attention to something, he'll kind of like bolden it, or just make it really come to me, like this is something to pay attention to. And so I just decided then, it's like, well, that's weird. It's kind of like 911, 911 it's like, what's 811? It just kind of made me start to question what that number actually really means. And I just wanted to see if there was anything about that in, any special way. And so then I looked it up, and I couldn't find anything except for this one thing. And I have to show you, this was odd. This is, oh, you can't probably see it because it's probably backwards, but it says reduce the chance of causing damage to less than 1% when you call 811 before digging. Well, that was kind of a funny thing, because I wasn't trying to make something that wasn't there, or try to make something out of it that wasn't even, there. Why? I don't know why. It's like, but then, so I found out what it was is, it's a number that you call when you're going to be digging around property, and you want to not run into gas lines and wiring, underground wiring. And you don't want to blow up your neighborhood, so you don't want to hit a gas line and things like that. So they tell you where on that property that underground utilities is located, so you can avoid it. And so I just kind of thought, oh, that's interesting. It was more like, I'm trying to think of how to explain this. At that time, God was just really wanting me to just float, not be so preoccupied with, all the corona thing, and you get obsessed with it. And especially in the beginning, it's like, you want to know what it is. It's a sense of gaining some kind of control, a sense of stopping this crazy thing that's going on and trying to make sense of it. And that's really kind of what a lot of us were doing. And I know I was too. And it was like God said, don't dig any further, because I already know, he said. And it's almost like, be okay knowing that God knows. Just accept the fact that he's in control. He knows. We don't have to keep digging for answers and looking, because you don't know what % you're actually going to hurt as a result of that. Sometimes you just don't have to dig so deep. You just trust the Lord. Listen, lean not unto thine own understanding, but in all our ways acknowledge him, and he will direct our path. So he was directing my path away from continuing to obsess or be overly concerned and adding to the pile of information in the insecurities that people were having, and the fears, feeding into the fears. He said, don't do that. So that was kind of an interesting thing. So that's where that came from. And then I just wanted to also then say, so then that led me to reading, trying to look up scripture. So what came to me was to look up what 8:11 might be in Revelations, because it's the time we're dealing with now. So why would I look up Genesis 8:11? It was like Revelations. This is it. This is where we are today. So it makes sense to look up Revelations. So I thought of seeing Revelations 8:11, seeing what it might have to say, and this is what I read. The third angel sounded his trumpet, and a great star, blazing like a torch, fell from the sky on a third of the rivers and on the springs of water. The name of the star is Wormwood. A third of the waters turned bitter. And many people died from the waters that had become bitter. And that same day, I opened up my devotional book. And at 1:45, I always like to put the time down, just I'm a numbers person. In my devotional reading, Zechariah 13:8-9, it says, "In the whole land, declares the Lord, in my devotion, 2/3 will be struck down and perish, yet 1/3 will be left in it." That was the same day. Same day as seeing the time at 8:11. Same day as looking up the meaning of 8:11. And same day as looking up the Revelations 8:11. And this was on April 5th, 4th. What day was that? April 5th. So anyway, it goes on and says, 2/3 will be struck down and perish, and yet 1/3 will be left in it. This third I will put into the fire. I will refine them like silver and test them like gold. They will call on my name, and I will answer them. I will say, they are my people. And they will say, the Lord is our God. And then I just wrote here, I believe God is saying that although Revelations 8:11 will happen according to Zechariah 13:8-9, God's people will be put through the fire, and as a continuing purification and continued refining process for his bride. Right now, that's another thing I'm going to talk about. We are his bride, but we change in Revelations when we see the kingdom. When we go into the new kingdom, when Jerusalem comes down, there's a change, there's a shift. So this is kind of cool. And we will call on him with a purified heart, and he will answer, and we will be protected from what's happening in Revelations 8:11, which is the torch and the burning and all that stuff. But you know what? I'm not sure about every little detail about that, but I can tell you one thing. 8:11 happened that day. God brought my attention to it. It means don't keep digging. I already know what's going to happen. Don't focus on that. I am God, and I'm with you through the fire. Remember Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? They were in the fire. They were in the fiery furnace. If you have not been reading Daniel, I have been reading that and Revelations and a lot of different things, and that's been a fascinating reread. And the three of them were in there. They were fully dressed when they put him in. Their hands were tied. They were bound in the back. And when they brought them out, when they saw them, when the king saw them in there, he said, "Weren't there 3 men? How come I see 4?" And they're walking about, and their hands are untied. Not one had a singe on it. Not one smelled like smoke when they took them out. And so the Lord is going to refine us and purify our hearts through that time. And so we're totally devoted to him. And that's why it's so important to be that virgin, the 5 wise virgins. Just stop digging in things that God doesn't want you to dig in. You're going to hit something, and